He's been called the actor of his generation, and with back-to-back Oscar-worthy movie performances this fall, Leonardo DiCaprio is assuming a new mantle as a tougher-looking, more mature leading man. In his latest film, Blood Diamond, that debuts on Friday, he plays a smuggler desperately hunting for a giant diamond he believes will solve all his problems.
Look at me. I know people, huh? White people. Without me, you're just another black man in Africa, all right? You got no time. What's it gonna be, bro?
You were saying anything. How can I trust you?
All right, that diamond could be priceless. We split it and you get your family. What's it gonna be, yes or no? Yes or no?
Leonardo DiCaprio, good morning. Good to have you here.
Good morning. Great to be here.
It hasn't even opened yet, and there's already a lot of people talking about this movie, and it seems to me it's for a couple of reasons. One, the performances. You and Djimon Hounsou in this are outstanding. The other is that apparently this movie has the diamond industry more than a little bit nervous.
Well, we're portraying real events that really went on in Sierra Leone in the late 90s in this film, and it talks about the diamond industry and a lot of the things that have gone on in places like Sierra Leone, where these diamonds have essentially funded these warlords to cause this civil strife. You know, it's ultimately a film with a strong message, you know, but it's a complicated one nonetheless.
So your job as a filmmaker, when you read the script on something like this, or when you work on the script on something like this, do you say, okay, this stands alone, it's compelling, it's entertaining, it's dramatic, or this is a great opportunity to make a political statement?
I never would go into a film solely on the basis of wanting to make a political statement. I mean, the structure of the film has to be entertaining. It has to be something that emotionally moves the audience. The cherry on the cake of this film was, yeah, we are talking about something very pertinent in the world today. It is, to me, this whole story of the diamond industry is very symbolic of you know, corporate responsibility.
Tell me a little bit about your character in this.
I play a Rhodesian well, he's modern-day Zimbabwe, but he calls it
formerly Rhodesia.
Formerly
yeah.
Rhodesia. He's an ex-mercenary. He's in the black market in the diamond trade industry. He's very disillusioned with Africa. He's sort of a modern South African in the sense that he comes from the post-apartheid era, but you know, he harbors a lot of ghosts from, you know, what he's seen in that country. And I think that, you know, in going there and speaking to a lot of these ex-mercenaries, they certainly have mixed feelings about the place that they're from, you know.
And also you've got to take on this accent. The South African accent is a very distinctive accent, and you do it seemingly effortlessly. A lot of people, by the way, are starting to talk about your talent in that area, that you've become a bit of a master of the accents. How hard was it to master this one?
Probably the most difficult I've ever had.
What are the keys to a South African accent?
You know, I wouldn't have been able to identify one before I got there. It sounded like a hybrid between somebody from New Zealand and England. So it was a matter of really, you know, I got to Africa about a month early and really spent a lot of time with people there and tried to, more so than just getting the accent down, I wanted to really get the slang down. So that took getting a lot of these South African guys drunk and hearing them curse. And
that's what you call research these days?
That was my research.
The amazing thing is the contradiction, because now you've got The Departed out as well, and there it's a Southie accent, South Boston for people who aren't familiar with it. This is another movie that's getting an awful lot of attention, and it's a wonderful cast in this with Jack Nicholson and Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg. And, of course, it's a Martin Scorsese film. It's the third time you've teamed up with him?
Third film.
Why is this filmmaking relationship, so good, in your opinion?
Well, for me, it's very simple. To me, he's the greatest living director in the world, and I'm getting an opportunity to work with him on multiple films. It's pretty much a no-brainer.
I read a take on this where someone said that the two of you work so well together because you both dislike the same things, which I thought is an interesting spin on it. So, and if it's true, what do you both dislike?
Well, you know, some conventionalities and, you know, as far as aspects and characters and plot structures. I think that's what we mean. And we dislike a lot of the same movies, too. So I think in that respect, we've found this sort of happy medium where we're able to immediately, without even having a conversation, identify problems in a script or in a character that we can, you know, eliminate on site.
When I looked over to get ready to talk to you today, your kind of recent history and your schedule of events coming up, it's fairly obvious that you're starting to dedicate more and more of your time to causes, and in particular the environment, global warming. How much of an impact do you think you've had already, and what are you planning for the near future in terms of what you can bring to that discussion?
Well, I'm currently working on a documentary called The 11th Hour, which really was inspired because, you know, I've done a lot of work on the issue of global warming in the past, and I feel like when it's presented in the media, you have the consensus of the greatest minds in the world, the greatest scientists, Nobel laureates, speaking about the issue, and they're over 90% of the collective thought. But then when it's on the media, you have that 10 or 5%, and they're sitting opposite on a chair, and it becomes an argument when they are actually the minority. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to be able to present some of these great minds, to have a palette in which they can talk about the issue of global warming without it being an argument anymore.
And how important is it for you to start to change the perception, and it's only in some quarters, but the perception of Hollywood as being a place of consumption and excess, and start people thinking about, and maybe it's by people like you and a George Clooney standing up, to get people thinking that Hollywood can be a great motivator for change?
I think it can too, and you know, I've heard the argument that you know, who are we as these Hollywood artists who
just go act and
just
shut
go
up?
Out? Yeah, exactly. But you know, we're also citizens as well, and and everyone has the right to not listen to us. But if I feel like if I can draw, you know, a certain amount of young people or anyone to hear my voice on an issue like global warming, or educate them in any possible way, it's just something I personally want to do.
It's nice to see you working on what you feel passionately about, and also to keep turning out these great movies. This one's called Blood Diamond. Leonardo DiCaprio, good to have you here.
Thanks.
And Blood Diamond opens this Friday in theaters nationwide.